What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here, live for your NFL Week 13 review, recap, and reaction, where I rant about the biggest topics in the NFL from this past Sunday, Thursday, Monday, all the NFL action I cover from the week previous on this show. Now, typically we do this Monday night after Monday Night Football, but I figured we had a crazy live stream last night, and I wanted to cover that Bills-Patriots game, so let's do it on a Tuesday instead. Thank you guys for joining me here live for the Tuesday edition of the NFL review for Week 13. We got a lot to talk about, specifically when it comes to the end of this regular season and looking at the playoffs and truly determining who the top teams are in football, who those teams are that are going to make a run potentially in the NFC and the AFC, and how that's going to go down. We also need to talk about Monday Night Football. The biggest game of the week was the Patriots and the Bills. I'm going to break that one down, my thoughts on it for both teams, the Patriots and the Bills, and what it means for both teams. We're going to break down a few teams that I've been disappointed in the last few weeks. The Ravens, the Vikings. We're going to talk about a team on the rise, the Miami Dolphins. We're going to talk about a lot more. So, before I get started, make sure that you do spike that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are new for more NFL reactions just like this. Also, spike that notification bell for the latest upload if you are subscribed. All right, so how we're going to do this first is we're going to get to the Ultra Top 10 to start the show off, and then we're going to carry that over with the Monday Night Football. Typically, I do Monday Night Football before the Ultra 10, but this week, obviously, Monday Night Football happened last night, so it's now become a part of the show. So we're going to do that after Ultra's Top 10, which Ultra's Top 10, guys, can be found every single week on our Instagram, at TheBottomLineView on Instagram. You can follow us there for exclusive rankings and more content that you don't find here on YouTube, including Ultra's top 10 teams, their can't starts and sits, and a lot more on the Instagram. So give us a follow there if you want to keep up to date with the latest and the greatest on this channel, The Bottom Line View. So follow us on Instagram at The Bottom Line View. You can also follow me on Twitter at Mitch Milani, Milani, for my tweets about the Patriots, football, and a lot more. All right. So Ultra's top 10 teams. Let's take a look at what he has for us this week. By the way, my power rankings will be out probably later tonight. I'm going to record that right after I do this live. So you're going to see my power rankings out later tonight, possibly tomorrow morning, depending on when you want to watch it. So let's take a look at Ultra's top 10. At number 10, we have the Indianapolis Colts. Now, you will see the Colts a little bit higher in my top 10, but I do appreciate that they're inside the top 10. You know, they've really only had recently one loss, and it was to the Bucs. So, when you look at the Colts coming down the stretch, a lot of people believe they're kind of a dark horse, and I think that's rightfully so. The way that they've been playing, I think the style that they play with is a style that is good for January football. Jonathan Taylor's been extremely dangerous. They have that X factor of the offensive line in the running game. Their defense is fairly solid. They're really well coached. You know, and as long as Carson Wentz doesn't get in his own way, I feel like that team is very good and they can kind of compete with any team in football. So I do think they deserve to be in the top 10, even though their record might be a little bit worse than, you know, a couple of the teams outside of the top 10. At number 9, Ultra has the Baltimore Ravens. And personally, you will not see the Ravens in my top 10. Spoiler alert for my power rankings. I have moved them outside of the top 10. The game versus the Steelers was another disappointing performance. The Baltimore Ravens have been extremely disappointing over the last 5 to 6 weeks. And I think it's just a lot more of what we've seen all season long. I think their record is a lie. I've said many years past that the Ravens, they're going to win games. They're going to have a certain record because the coaching is really good. They don't beat themselves. And fundamentally, they play solid, strong, tough football. And that's going to get them to a certain record. But at a certain point, style points to me do matter, especially when you're ranking a top 10. And the Ravens might make the playoffs, but I don't think anybody is going to consider them a team to go to the Super Bowl if they make it. They've lost another key piece to their roster and their defense in Marlon Humphrey. We'll talk about that later on, and I have a whole segment on the Ravens later on. But the Ravens for Ultra are still in the top 10. Just so you know, they will not be in my top 10. At number 8, the Buffalo Bills. I think that's totally fine. I think if you're overreacting to the loss to New England, I wouldn't. I think, a lot of people had them losing to New England. That's a tough environment for the Bills to play in. I think the one that will better judge the Bills is the game this week versus Tampa Bay and the game following versus New England in Week 16 in New England. Those two games are going to decide to me how the Bills will look going into the playoffs. I'm not going to completely sell them from being a team that can win the AFC, but they're certainly not at the top of that list. Josh Allen is still one of the better quarterbacks in football. I think their defense is pretty solid. Obviously, they've got a pretty good offense, but they just have a couple flaws, and they mostly consist with toughness and in the running game, which I think in January, you're going to need to run the ball. You're going to need to stop the run. And if they can't do that, they're not going to be able to beat these more physical football teams at number 8. At number 7, he's got the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys, I think, should belong, somewhere around 6 or 7 to me. I think them and the Bills are very similar. I buy into them, but I also don't really. But I think they kind of have different flaws. The Bills and Cowboys both have good offenses. I think their defenses, I think the Bills' defense is better. I think the area where the Cowboys are most efficient I feel like their defense is not great. They definitely could be passed on or ran on depending on the opponent. And I think their coaching still has something to prove when it comes to playoff football. I like their offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, but I feel like it could be difficult come playoff time. I really think that's the true test, and we won't really know until we see it. Dak is really, really good. Their receivers are really awesome. They have balance on offense, which is nice to see, so they control the game that way. That is better than Buffalo, but there are areas that are worse than Buffalo. At number 5, the Chiefs, I think they're deserving of being at number 5. I think they are the clear and obvious number 5. He's got number 6, the Titans, and I think that's too high, especially if you're considering the Titans as they're currently constructed right now. That is too high, just because their offense currently can't move the ball in a high school team. So until they get some of their players back, that's going to be trouble. I don't think they can be in the top 10. But if you're trying to balance out the long term with the current, I think they probably belong somewhere at the lower end of the top 10, probably not at number 6. I definitely think the Cowboys are the better team there. At number 5, like I said, the Chiefs, I think that makes sense. Their defense is playing really well, and that gives me faith for them in the playoffs. At number 4, New England, I think you could argue at this point New England might deserve to be even higher than number 4. I think number 4 is very respectful and fair, but I think you could argue that they might be a top 3 team. They've been the hottest team in football. Analytically, they're the best team in football. I think maybe outside of just Tampa Bay, but they're really good on both sides of the ball. They can run the ball, and they can play hecka defense, and they can really pass the ball if you let them. And that's something that I think is still being underrated about New England, is now people, because of the game Mac Jones had where he only attempted 3 passes, they're going to question New England's passing game. But I would just say go back, watch the Titans game, watch the Browns game. New England, Mac Jones proved to you that they can do that when the conditions are right and when the game plan suggests they need to pass. They can do it. At number 3, Tampa Bay, I think is too low. I've been saying this for weeks. I think clearly the 2 top teams in football are the Bucs and the Packers, and I have not really, fallen off from that. I think a fully healthy Tampa Bay team is the best team in the NFL. They have low-key not been very healthy, and that has definitely hurt their stock in people's minds, but I think it shouldn't. And then at number 2, he's got the Cardinals, which I think still, to me, personally need to prove that they're a top 3 team, right? Like, they've had some good wins, there's no doubt, but most of them have been against average football teams. Like, they haven't really beaten a Packers, a Tampa Bay, a New England, a Kansas City. Like, you just look at the list of teams in Ultra's top 10. The Cardinals have not beat a single team in his top 10. And I don't think I'm mistaken. Oh, they beat the Titans in week 1. Again, that's week 1, though. And that's a Titans team that I don't even have inside the top 10. So the Cardinals, like, yes, best record in the NFL. I don't think they're the second best team, though. I think those are two different things. At number 1, Green Bay. I think that's understandable at this moment in time. They look pretty good. It's hard to really debate that. Aaron Rodgers is probably at this moment playing the best of any quarterback, even though, you could probably still give the MVP award to Tom Brady. Their defense is playing really good. And, of course, they have balance on offense, a good running game, a great receiver, good coaching. So you could definitely say the Packers are the best team in the NFL. That is Ultra's top 10. I have some disagreements with that, but I also agree with aspects to it. You will see what my power rankings look like inside the top 10 and more coming later on tonight. And there's slight differences between them, but that's kind of how I look at it for the Ultra top 10. If you guys haven't already, make sure you do Gronk spike that like button and subscribe to the channel for more on the Bottom Line View. All right. Okay, let's get to Monday Night Football. So we had Monday Night Football, the game of the week, the New England Patriots and the Buffalo Bills. This is week 13, baby. And we got to split this up into 2 different conversations. So I want to talk about New England and I want to talk about the Bills. Okay, so there's 2 different conversations. First off, I think for New England to go to Buffalo, to play the way they did, manhandle the Bills the way they did, was extremely impressive and only continues to back why the Patriots are a contender this season. Because when you can go into a good team's, top 10 team's house, physically manhandle them in that type of weather, when they know you're going to run it, you still run it, and you just bully them. That is a statement, in my opinion. That is a statement. So for me, that is the biggest takeaway from this game. That New England is going to play bully ball, and they're going to be able to play bully ball versus some of the best teams in the NFL, and they're going to be able to win through playing bully ball as well. I don't know if this thing is a bit... There we go. I think that's better. I don't know. It just feels like a little bit blurry, but I'm not sure if that's just the stream. So, the New England Patriots. Monday Night Football was very good. I hope you enjoyed it. I thought it was an exciting game despite the score, despite the punts, despite the 3-and-outs, despite all the running. I thought the game was entertaining. I thought the chess match between the 2 coaching staffs, I thought the chess match between the Patriots and the Bills was very exciting to watch. And I thought the end gave us a little bit of drama there, where coming down to the last play of the game, what's going to happen? Are the Bills going to score? Are the Pats going to stop them? I thought the wind, that's the thing about those type of games. That intrigues me as a football fan. Those crazy weather environments and how teams are going to be able to win in those elements, I think speaks to a mental toughness, a physical toughness of the team that can win it. But it also speaks to how teams and coaching staffs can adjust and best prepare their team to win this game and best adjust during a game to win that game. So that's what I took away mostly from the game off the top. Okay, so let's talk about the Patriots and what they were able to do in this football game. This was Patriot football. This was old school. This was throwback to the early dynasty seasons. Our offense, let's run the football. Our quarterback, let's not even make him a factor. Let's just not lose the game from that perspective. This is what New England said, and I think this is something that a lot of people are missing about this game. Yes, did Mac Jones not throw the ball at all? No, he didn't. But why was that? Okay, there's a few factors why Mac Jones didn't throw the ball. It's not because he couldn't throw the ball, although it was very difficult to throw the ball in those conditions. The reason he didn't throw the ball, the reason he only threw the ball 3 times, is because, one, the Patriots had the physical mismatch up front versus the Bills' front 7. We will get to that in a second. The Bills had the numbers in the box. They had the advantage with the numbers. But the Patriots were the bigger, more physical team in this game. They knew that coming in. They knew they could execute it. And they just continued to force the issue by running the ball and daring the Bills to stop them. And here's the more impressive thing. The Patriots committed to the run game to such a degree that they basically told us as football fans that they straight up believed that the Buffalo Bills could not move the football in this game. By running the ball as much as the New England Patriots did, they looked square at the eyes of Sean McDermott and Josh Allen and Brian Daboll and the audience and said, you will not score. You can't move the ball. You will not get into the end zone. That is exactly what Bill Belichick said to this team. He said, you're not going to move the ball on our defense. I don't care if we just run the ball every play of the game and punt when we need to punt. We don't need to play ultra aggressive on offense because you can't score. That is ultimately what the Patriots said to us by that game plan. And I thought what was incredibly impressive was Bill Belichick's getting a lot of credit. Okay, but I think somebody needs a little bit more credit, and that man is Josh McDaniels. I felt Josh McDaniels did an incredible job, not through the diversity and the creativity of the offense. It wasn't creative. It was about as basic as it could get. They ran 3 plays, basically the entirety of the game. A run to the left, a run to the right, a run up the middle. And they had a bunch of different types of runs when it came to G-lead power plays, from traps, from tosses, toss crack. You know, that's how they scored the touchdown. They threw in a reverse here, you know, that here and there. But like, it was basically 2 to 3 running plays that they kept running over and over. And here's the thing about the Bills. They play the same front every single week. They play like a 4-3 over front, right? So when you know exactly the same front that a defense is going to come into, you can go into a game with 3 or 4 run plays and say, we know these runs are specifically going to work versus this defensive front because of the gaps that are going to be available when you run the football, because you know that a gap's going to be here, a gap's going to be there. That's where you can execute, and that's where you can get yards. And McDaniels basically came into the game, saw the environment, saw the score, felt the game out. Him, Belichick, Mac Jones before the game said, okay, look, we're only going to have to pass if we need to pass. If we get the lead, which is huge for this game, right? If we get the lead for this game, which they did, they never had to pass the ball because they had the lead. They got the lead early. They said, but the Bills aren't going to score on us. We're just going to keep running the ball, protect the ball. Let's not make a stupid mistake. Let's not allow the wind to beat us. How do you win? Well, you got to stop yourself from losing before you can win. Okay? And that's what the Patriots did. They took the environment out of it. They just ran the ball. Josh McDaniels needs more credit. When they were running the toss and it was working, they kept running the toss. When it stopped working, they ran a trap. Okay? When the trap stopped working, okay, we're going to run the power to the right. You know, so like, he kind of mixed it up just enough in the running game with different types of runs and different directions to the point where it continued to be successful on the ground. So I think Josh McDaniels needs more credit. As good as Bill Belichick is, as great as he is, the GOAT, right? His defense was phenomenal. The play calling by the defense, his son, phenomenal stuff. But Josh McDaniels is the one ultimately that calls the plays, and it took ultimate discipline on offense to continue to just call running plays and run the ball. And by the way, Mac Jones does have something to do with that because he's calling out the mic. He's audibling at the line, seeing, okay, well, we're going to run right here. Maybe I got to audible to the other run because I don't like the look of this run, so I got to go to the left instead of the right. So Mac was involved in that way, not just because he just hand the ball off, but he is important in those protections and getting it blocked up in the running game as well. But you got to give a lot of credit to the running backs. I felt like the offensive line was phenomenal, and you saw the front of New England. And I'm going to show this picture here. I wanted to use it for a different purpose, but I think this is fair to use it in this way. So you see this formation, and this is a formation that the Patriots used a lot in this game. So you see this formation, and you've got basically all game, they ran a couple formations, maybe 2 formations all game. This was their primary formation they came out in, and they ran the ball, right? So you had Jonnu Smith at tight end. You had, of course, your 5 offensive linemen. You had Michael Onwenu, a guard/tackle, playing the other tight end spot. So essentially you had 6 offensive linemen. You had Jakob Johnson at fullback. You had the running back Ramondre Stevenson in this case, and you had N'Keal Harry at wide receiver as the blocking receiver. So you had 6 offensive linemen, a tight end, a fullback, a running back. The Buffalo Bills had, look at how many people are in the box on this picture here. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people in the box. I mean, if you include that corner that is right in there in the box far to the right. So you got 10 people within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. And the Patriots were still able to gash the Bills for big runs in this game. You only had Micah Hyde back here protecting protecting the pass or protecting the breakthrough run, let's say, the run that breaks through the second level. So the Bills were selling out to stop the run, but New England's ability to be bigger than the Bills, right? You got to look at the Bills' personnel. The reason people were saying, why couldn't the Bills stop the Pats? It's because they have too many light players that are not heavy enough, not big enough in the inside. You've got all of these edge rushers here. You got 255 pounds. They have 2 big D tackles, Star Lotulelei, Harrison Phillips. Harrison Phillips was great in the game, I thought, for the most part. But you have Mario Addison, Jerry Hughes, all these other guys that are 245, 255 pounds. They're not big enough. You're lining up against Trent Brown, who's 350 pounds. I don't know what he is, but he's huge. Okay, and then you got Jakob Johnson, who's just as big as the D end, who's playing fullback. You got Ramondre Stevenson, who's Derrick Henry light. So you got all these big people. You're just going to get ran over. And that's the problem with the Bills. We're going to get to the problem with the Bills a little bit deeper here in a second. But I thought this picture is an example of what happened in this game. The Bills got manhandled, and the Patriots just continuously ran the ball down their throats, and they didn't care because they knew they were going to get a couple big runs in the game that would ultimately be the difference maker, okay? But shout out to Stevenson, shout out to Harris. I thought they had great games. I thought they broke tackles. I thought they made decisive runs. I thought they were able to hit the hole hard. They were definitely hard to take down. I thought Stevenson played really well. I saw him break numerous tackles. I thought Damian Harris's ability on a couple runs to break away from the defense was absolutely crucial to the victory. But those guys played really, really well. And ultimately, that's what you got, okay? But this is a look at Josh McDaniels' game plan right here. This is a look at it. You got run through a mother you-know-what's face. That is the play that Josh McDaniels ran for a majority of the day right there. That is the play. I took it from his playbook directly. That is what it's called, okay? That is what it's called. I don't know if you've seen it in his playbook. In case you haven't, you might want to take a screenshot. Might want to implement that in your playbook, okay? That is the play that beat the Buffalo Bills right there. So the Patriots were phenomenal on the offensive side of the football by running the ball and protecting the ball and controlling the clock, okay? But the defense as well deserves a lot of credit. The defense as well deserves a lot of credit. The Patriots defense played really well, and like I said, the reason Belichick had such confidence and McDaniels had such confidence to continue to run the ball is because they knew their defense wouldn't lose the game and they would win the game through their defense. And this is the thing about the Patriots down the stretch and in the playoffs that might give them an advantage over the rest of the NFL is the Patriots defense is the X factor of the playoffs because their defense, in my personal opinion, is so much better than every other defense in the NFL. The NFL doesn't have a lot of good defenses in this league. There just isn't. The Patriots defense is by far the best defense in the NFL. And that is because they have the versatility to match up in the run game, in the pass game, and they're so good situationally in the red zone, on third down. They'll force turnovers. They're opportunistic. They're very well coached. They can play man. They can play zone. They can play big. They can play small. And that X factor of the Patriots defense, if the Patriots go on a run, go to the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl, even go to the AFC Championship, if the Patriots do that, it's because they have such a better defense than everybody they're playing. The Bills are a good defense, but they're not as good as New England, and it's not really that close. So that is what New England, if New England's going far in the playoffs, listen to what I'm saying right now. It's because their defense is going to carry the team, but it's not to say the offense is bad. It's to say that their defense is so much better than everyone else's. And that's the point I'm trying to make. And that could be an X factor in an NFL that doesn't have very many good defenses right now. There just isn't very many good defenses. And when you have a defense over the last 7 weeks allowing 10 points per game, that could be the difference in going to the Super Bowl this year or not going to the Super Bowl this year. All right. I also saw this tweet, which I thought was pretty fascinating. Not that one. We got this one. So this is from Doug on the Twitter. I suggest that you follow him if you have the Twitter. I suggest it heavily. So we've got the Patriots had 9 runs of 10 yards or more with 4 different players doing it against a defense that was arrayed to do nothing but stop the run. That, friends, is domination. By the way, Damian Harris left the game in the first half with a hamstring injury. So the Patriots ultimately had 9 runs of 10 plus yards. So those are explosive runs. It's 10 plus yard runs are explosive runs. And that was enough for them to win this game. Of course, they had one for a 66-yard touchdown, Damian Harris. But again, that speaks to how dominant New England could be. And the reason I feel so good about this win, despite some people might look at this as a Mickey Mouse win. To me, I think it's extremely impressive because you beat a team without even having to pass the ball. And, when you play in better conditions, I think it doesn't actually help the Bills. I think it helps the Patriots. Because just the fact that you might be able to attack them with more balance, that's going to open up the entirety of the run game even more. Because you can't play 10 in the box if New England's going to decide to pass the ball 20 times. So then New England's going to be able to run the ball even more efficiently in the next game they play. And the fact that they play twice versus Buffalo, or possibly even 3 times, that could be a big deal. If New England basically didn't have to pass the ball in one of the games, they now can put all of their passing stuff in the game plan for the second game or the third game, right? And the Bills have no tape on that. The Patriots have tape on the Bills, but the Patriots didn't give any tape for their passing offense to Buffalo, which I think is next level. If you can win a game like that, which is very difficult to do, hey, it might be worth it in a divisional game where you have to play a team maybe 3 times because the Bills will be a playoff team most likely ultimately. So everyone's giving credit to New England, I think deservedly so. Like I said, defense phenomenal. I thought Belichick phenomenal. McDaniels phenomenal. Great stuff, okay? I want to say one area that I thought wasn't so good for New England, which I think makes it even more impressive again that New England won. I thought the special teams wasn't great outside of the kicker, Nick Folk, who's the best player on the team, in my opinion. So you have the Patriots playing bad on special teams, giving the Bills 7 points. basically. N'Keal Harry, the ball hits his head. The ball lands inside the 15-yard line. The Bills score inside the 15-yard line. That gives them their only touchdown of the game. If that play doesn't happen, Patriots likely win this game by 10. And we're not even talking about it being close, But that is the one area where I thought New England would be better, that they weren't as good. And if you would have told me that and this was the result of the game, I would have said probably New England loses. But that's just how good they were on defense in this game and how good they were at running the ball and controlling the clock. So shout outs to them. But I do want to discuss the other side. I do want to discuss the Buffalo Bills, because what I saw from the Buffalo Bills in this game, after the game, the Buffalo Bills were a completely rattled, shattered football team after this game. I'm not sure if you guys are aware, if you guys saw it on social media, maybe you saw it on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, wherever. You might have seen it, but this was a completely rattled football team after this game. Obviously, they were embarrassed. And one of the journalists from Buffalo actually asked Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer if they were embarrassed by giving up 226 rushing yards in the game. They answered it very emotionally. I would suggest you go watch that video. I can't post it here for obvious reasons because I'll get a copyright strike or a copyright and I won't be able to continue doing videos. So if you want to check that out, check it out. It's all over the place. But Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer were very upset about that question. And it put them on edge. And you could tell that they were embarrassed. Just the way they answered the question. They were embarrassed. They were not happy about it. And obviously they weren't happy about it. They lost the game. But the guy that I thought was even worse in this instance, right? Outside of Poyer and Hyde, who are leaders of the team, veterans of the NFL, right? They clearly were distraught by the question and by the whole press conference. But the guy that was even more telling about where this football team's headspace is at after that game is their head coach, Sean McDermott. Sean McDermott, after this game and during this game, may I say, was a complete embarrassment to the Buffalo Bills. Sean McDermott was a clown. Okay, during the game, Sean McDermott was doing nothing but yelling at the refs, screaming, pouting, throwing a fit, acting up. He needed to go in a corner. He needed to take a timeout. And here's my problem. I don't like when coaches get all emotional. Okay? I don't like when they complain about the refs. I don't like it at all. I hate it. In fact, because it's not because the call was right, the call was wrong. It's not about getting that right or wrong. It's not about that at all. It's not about complaining about the refs. I'm sure Bill Belichick hates calls all the time, but you rarely see him get upset. And if he does get upset, it's more so directed at the referee, not so at the game itself or at the team. And you don't see him constantly going crazy and all this stuff and showing all this emotion. Sean McDermott is the reason this team has this attitude. Because when you are that emotional and when you are that upset, it affects your team. Oftentimes it affects your team through their play. Sometimes it can affect their team through penalties, right? Sometimes it can affect their team down the road. How are the Bills going to respond now after losing this game, the way their coach acted in the press conference, the way their leaders acted in the press conference? How are the Bills going to be able to turn the page and play the fucking Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa Bay versus their father, Brady, on this Sunday? Good luck, sir. So the Bills are so distraught. And I hate when coaches get all emotional because you see it with the players. If Sean McDermott was more composed, if Sean McDermott was a little bit more zen, okay, this team wouldn't be acting this way. And I feel like this team wouldn't be this emotional. This team wouldn't be overreacting. And I feel this is going to completely hurt their team for the rest of the year. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that. I think the way that Sean McDermott acted after this game by talking about Bill Belichick, saying, let's not give more credit than we need to Bill Belichick. We outplayed. He essentially said we outplayed them in the game, but we lost, and making excuses for the loss. Blah, 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 blah. You got Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer saying, oh, we only gave up 14 points. Well, you lost the game, pal. You lost the game. You gave up 14 and you lost. I don't care if you gave up 3. If you lose the fucking game, you lose the game. I don't care. Stop acting like a bunch of bitches, a bunch of pussies. Stop. You're the Buffalo Bills. Here's my problem. Here is my problem, people. This is my problem. Okay? We've got the Buffalo Bills. Build a dome, Buffalo. Buffalo. Build a dome. I don't know if you noticed, Bills. I don't know if you noticed Bills Mafia. Hey, you might as well take off the S. You might as well take off the S from your name and just call yourselves the Buffalo Bill. Because that's what you are. You're owned by Bill Belichick. That's what you are, Buffalo. Bills Mafia. You're a bunch of clowns. Stop getting on Twitter and talking about we can't play in normal weather. We haven't been able to play a good team in normal weather. You play in Buffalo. If you want to play in normal weather, don't play in Buffalo. You're the Buffalo Bills. Why are you complaining about rain, snow, wind? Move! London wants a team. I hear people from London every weekend in my live stream. They say, Mitch, I want a team. What? Take the Bills, because obviously their fans don't want them to play in their area of the world because they don't like the weather. If you're not happy about it, change it. And here's my fucking problem about this too. This is another thing. You're the Buffalo Bills, okay? Your management messed up, okay? You're a soft football team. You're charm and soft. You've got no physical toughness, and now no mental toughness, quite frankly. Your coach is a you-know-who. Stop complaining. You play in Buffalo, and your team is constructed to play in New Orleans. That's the problem. In football, in the NFL, you have to build your team to play in the city that you are from. If you're from Cleveland, you have to build a team the way that Cleveland is. You can't expect to be a high-flying team. Why do you think the Patriots always have big people and, commit to offensive linemen and defensive linemen and toughness? Why? Because they play in the cold. Because they play in the rain. Because they play in the snow. Because, quite frankly, you gotta be a weatherman in the NFL when you're a GM. You can't build a Buffalo Bills team that is soft, that is small, that is built on speed, that is a dome team. The Buffalo Bills are the Peyton Manning Colts in 2021 playing in the wrong weather. If you want to change it, rather move, build a dome, but don't talk to me about, don't complain. These Bills fans on Twitter are talking about, we have yet to play a good team in normal weather. It's because you play in Buffalo. Did you not realize? I don't think Bean realized this. I don't think McDermott realized this. You are the Buffalo Bills. I don't know how many times I have to say this shit. You're too small. You're too soft to play in Buffalo. It's too cold. I spent 4 years of my life in Toronto. It's cold as shit. Toronto's right beside Buffalo. You're going to freeze your ass off. These defensive linemen don't have enough fat on their bones, bro. They don't got nothing keeping them warm. They have no running game. They can't control the line of scrimmage. They get beat up. The Colts whooped your ass. The Titans ran down your throat. The Patriots didn't even pass. And all of these teams beat you. Wake up. Stop complaining. I'm done. The Bills, I'm done with you. You're not going anywhere. Bills Mafia, rename yourself to the Buffalo Bill Mafia. And we will see you in 2 weeks in New England. And I hope it snows. I hope it snows. I hope it rains. I hope there's lightning. I hope God himself comes down and puts a bunch of snow right on your sideline. What a joke. Team is from Buffalo and they're built like they're from Hawaii. All right. Done with that. Next. We got the Minnesota Vikings. If you guys haven't already, make sure you do Gronk spike that like button. Let's talk about another embarrassing franchise. Another team that's never won a Super Bowl, the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings are an embarrassment. Any team that loses to the Detroit Lions, you should be embarrassed. Mike Zimmer is too busy with his girlfriend, his model girlfriend, to understand what red zone defense is. I've prayed for you how many times, Minnesota? I think twice. Zimmer, what are you doing? Mike Zimmer, you are playing Jared Goff. Jared Goff. Hold up. Do you know who Jared Goff is? Jared Goff, it has once been reported by the news that Jared Goff is scared of the dark at night. He has to have a nightlight. That is how scared Jared Goff is. So you're playing Jared Goff, okay? This guy is scared of his own shadow. The Vikings decide to play prevent defense, which prevents you from winning the game. And then at the end, they play soft zone coverage in the end zone and practically allow St. Brown to catch the ball for a touchdown to win the game. What? How do you not blitz Jared Goff? Jared Goff, again, scared of his own shadow, has a nightlight. Literally, it was reported, pooped himself in the Super Bowl versus the Patriots. And you don't blitz him. What are you doing? You just sit back. You let Jared Goff light you up. Congratulations to Lions fans. Love to see the Lions get a dub. Always cheering for the Lions. But I mean, this is more about the absolute hypocrisy that is the Minnesota Vikings. Mike Zimmer thought that he could fool us. He thought that he could make the playoffs by signing a bunch of over-the-hill defensive players. Well, that hasn't worked out. Complete liability. Everyone's got to go. Send them all packing. I don't want to see the Vikings I'm done with the Vikings. Get rid of them. I don't want them to be in the playoffs. I am no longer backing the Vikings to make the playoffs. Get them out of this NFL. I am done. How many ways can you lose a game? You lose to the Lions. I no longer have you in my hearts. Washington football team, rather see them make the playoffs. I'd rather see the Eagles make the playoffs. I'd rather see the damn Chicago Bears make the playoffs than the Vikings. If I've got to see the Vikings play one more good game, I don't know what I'll do. They didn't blitz Jared Goff on the biggest play of the game. What does that tell you about the Vikings? Mike Zimmer, who's literally known for blitzing, didn't blitz. I'm done with this team. I'm done. All right. Let's talk about the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. To the playoffs? Maybe. Could it happen? Well, let's talk about it. So, the Miami Dolphins are now sitting pretty in a position to potentially make the wild card. They have beaten a bunch of shitty teams, but nonetheless, they have beaten the Texans, the Ravens, which was their best win, the Jets, the Panthers, and the Giants in a row. Okay? That's 5 teams in a row. 5 wins in a row since losing to the laughable Bill Mafia. Okay? That's 5 wins in a row since losing to the team that is owned by Bill Belichick. Okay? 5. 5 wins in a row. Now you beat Texans, one of the worst teams in the league. Jets, one of the worst teams in the league. Panthers, one of the worst teams in the league. Giants, Mike Glennon is terrible. Ravens, laugh. Lol. But it gives you a chance. So you look at your schedule, you got the Jets. You should win that game. I think the Dolphins have proven that they can beat these bad teams. They got at the Saints, at the Titans, versus the Patriots. Okay? If I had to put money on it and say, if someone came to me and Isaac came to me and said, Mitch, you've got to put $1,000 on the line. Are the Dolphins going to make the playoffs or not make the playoffs? Personally, I would say no, they're not going to make the playoffs, Isaac, and I apologize for choosing that. But when you look at their schedule, I don't think they're going to beat the Patriots or the Titans. And the Saints aren't going to be easy either. They will beat the Jets. And I look at it and I say, probably not, but they've turned themselves around. And I think the biggest development here is obviously Tua. Okay? And you guys know I'm not the biggest Tua guy. I'm still not the biggest Tua guy. But I think what Tua has proven is you can win with him. Is he going to ever be elite? No. But he's good. He's solid. He could get the job done. If you build an offense around him, support him with a couple weapons like they have with Waddle and Gesicki, he can make some throws. He can protect the ball for the most part. He's fairly accurate and consistent. And he'll manage a game and win. The Dolphins have a good defense. And I think what Tua has proven is to give you a baseline of play to at least beat the bad teams, right? And his potential could be based on playing the better teams. That's where you have to have a better O-line, maybe one more weapon. But their defense has turned the corner. They've dominated. They've given them a chance to win every game. And Tua's made just enough plays in every game to win. And that is enough. And the Dolphins, if they can get an upset over the Titans or the Patriots, they do have a chance to make the playoffs. I just don't see it happening. I think those are tough games for them. But ultimately, we'll see what happens. I'm opening the door here, Dolphins fans. I'm closing the door, slam shut on the Bill Mafia, okay? But I've opened the door to the Miami Dolphins. All right, next. Let me tell you something, brother. The Minshew mania is running wild in Philadelphia. Minshew is back. And you know what? I said this on Patreon. And now this is why you got to get Patreon, bro. On my bets show, I said, yo, if you placed a bet with the Eagles, don't you worry. Don't you worry. Because you know what? You got to say your prayers. You got to eat your vitamins. And Gardner Minshew will come through with the dub. I love Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew's the man. I don't know how you could dislike Gardner Minshew. That clip with his dad got me emotional. Okay? Just the amount of pumped up he was in that clip was unbelievable. This is what I want to say about Minshew, okay? Gardner Minshew, I have no fucking idea why this guy is not starting in the NFL. It's a downright disgrace that Gardner Minshew is not a starting quarterback. Why is Gardner Minshew not starting? Look at his numbers. Look at his track record. Look at how he plays. I don't understand how he's not starting. I understand Eagles fans love Jalen Hurts, and that's totally fair. Bro, Gardner Minshew is a better passer than Jalen Hurts. There's no doubt about that. Look at Gardner Minshew and his production. 81.5 completion percentage in this game. 81! 253 yards, 9.4 yards per attempt, which is better than any yards per attempt in the history of Mahomes' career, probably. I don't know, I'm just joking. 2 touchdowns. And he lights the skies for the Eagles. But this is what I want to talk about. Minshew mania is running wild. Minshew should be a starter. Here's the thing. Look at his track record in Jacksonville. Think about how bad Jacksonville is right now. Think about how freaking terrible Jacksonville is right now. And that is the generational Trevor Lawrence. Gardner Minshew as a Jag went 8-13. I honestly think it's going to take 8 years before Trevor Lawrence wins 8 games in Jacksonville. Bro, 8-13 in Jacksonville? And last year, they had the shittiest team I've ever seen. He had 39 touchdowns and 11 interceptions in Jacksonville. That's almost a 4-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. And he's a backup. What kind of sense does that make? Bro, put Gardner Minshew in Cleveland, and the Browns are probably in the playoffs right now. I'm not even joking. I'm not even joking about that. What's the difference between Minshew and Mayfield? Anybody? Anybody? Hello? Okay, but this guy is very Ryan Fitzpatrick to me. This guy is very Ryan Fitzpatrick to me. And he's not starting. And the guy is clearly very likable. He's very marketable. He's very exciting. He seems like a cool guy. Why doesn't he get a chance? I said this before the season. I would have traded for Gardner Minshew. And Sports Fan says that Gardner gets all the chicks. Well, get me a break with Mayfield. Guy stinks. Stop it with the dealing with injuries. He's terrible. Give me Minshew. He wins another game, plays just as good as Jalen Hurts would have, and wins a game for the Eagles. All right, let's talk about this terrible football team. All right. The Baltimore Ravens, they're not good. How many times do I got to say this? I made a video after the first game of the season saying that the Baltimore Ravens are overrated. Okay? And you guys know me. I like the Ravens. Okay? They're so overrated. I saw them in the top 10 of the ESPN Power Rankings, and I almost puked twice. The Ravens lost to big booby Ben Roethlisberger, who can't even throw, who scored 3 points in 3 quarters. The Ravens are awful. Guys, look at the Ravens. Look at the Ravens so far. Let's go through the Ravens' whole schedule for you. Let me just prove that this is the most overrated team in the NFL. Period. Okay? First game of the year, they lose in overtime to the Raiders on Monday night. They beat the Chiefs by a miracle in Baltimore, 36-35. They beat the Lions on a record-setting field goal attempt by Justin Tucker. The Lions, okay? They beat the Lions on a record-setting field goal, 19-17, on the last play of the game. They dominated the Broncos. Cool. They were getting smoked by the Colts. They came all the way back and won in overtime 31-25. They smoked the Chargers. That's their best win of the year. They get annihilated by the Cincinnati Bengals at home, 41-17. They beat the Vikings in overtime, another game they should have lost. They lose to the Dolphins on Thursday night, 22-10. They beat the Bears by 3, granted, without Lamar. They beat the Browns. Lamar throws 4 picks. They score 16 points. And they lose to the Steelers. Guys, they have scored in 4 games in a row 19, 16, 16, and 10. The Ravens should be like 5 and like 8. They're not good. They have never been good this year. They've gotten lucky. And like I say, they kind of make their own luck sometimes because they're well coached. Don Martindale's carrying the team again. Right? You look at the Ravens stats. Don Martindale's carrying the team. They've got first and third down defense, first and red zone defense. That's why they're winning games. Period. Lamar Jackson, I love Lamar. He's been terrible for the last 5 weeks of the year. Terrible. Awful. How many interceptions does he have where he's just thrown it to the other team? The offensive line can't block me. They can't pick up TJ Watt on a blitz. Like, okay, the defense is sending 6 people. You might want to block the best edge player in the NFL. Let somebody else hit the quarterback other than TJ Watt. They can't block. Running backs are older than dirt. Mark Andrews and Marquise Brown drop the ball half the time. Sammy Watkins is a shadow of himself. The defense can't tackle. Now, their best player's hurt on defense. Now Marlon Humphrey's hurt. Look, star cornerback Marlon Humphrey suspected to be out for the season with a shoulder injury, a significant blow to Baltimore's defense. This team is done. They're ruined. They're finito. They're finished. They're donezo, bro. They are not a contender. I'm starting to question if they're even going to make the playoffs. I understand they have a lot of injuries. That is part of it. I am not denying it. But here is the problem. Everybody still thinks they're good. They're not. They haven't been good in weeks. Wake up. Call for help. Let's talk about the Chiefs. They're not going to win. Joe, they're not going to win shit, bro. I don't care. You say don't matter, they win. They're not going to win shit. They're going to lose the first playoff game. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. I don't care. You could win a regular season game. I mean, nothing. That's the Steelers, bro. The Steelers. The Steelers, a.k.a. stealing my joy when I watch football. Okay, next topic, we got the Chiefs. The Chiefs aren't convincing. The Patriots, quite frankly, are way better. Sports fan, don't get me riled up. The Patriots would smack that ass of the Chiefs. No question. Okay, let's talk about the Chiefs, by the way. So, the Chiefs are, I think, a good football team. But can we stop? They are not back. Can we stop with this shit? I understand you want the Chiefs to be good. You want the Chiefs to be great. You want Mahomes to be MVP. You want the Chiefs to make the Super Bowl. They are not that good. I'm not convinced. Their offense, quite frankly, is average. Do you need me to spell it out for you? The Chiefs' offense is average. A-V-E-R-A-G-E. Put me in the spelling bee. They're average. They played the Broncos. The Broncos, Teddy Bridgewater is an absolute disaster. He can't do anything. He couldn't even run. Bro, the Chiefs' defense is pretty good. They've been playing better. I give them credit. I give Spags credit. The Chiefs' offense stinks. Mahomes is terrible. He can't complete a pass, bro. This guy's wide open. Tyreek Hill wide open. Throws the ball. I'm Mahomes. Where's my football? One sec. I'm Mahomes. What is that? What are you doing? Why are you throwing the ball like that? The guy's wide open. Just put it on him. Why do you gotta throw it like this? What is this? Just throw the ball properly. The guy's wide open. Oh my God. If I gotta watch Mahomes throw another pass with his freaking hand at his damn foot, I am going to lose my mind. Bro, the guy is wide open. How many times? I can't even blame Andy Reid at this point. I can't blame Andy Reid. He's got guys wide open. Kelsey wide open. Hill wide open. And then you got the worst receiver in the NFL, Byron Pringle, who looks like he ate his own chips. Byron Pringle is terrible. How is this guy on a football team? Bro, that's how Mahomes throws the ball. He's like, look at that shit. What is that? Hey, give me a normal throw. I'm watching this team, and I got Chris Collinsworth on the commentary talking about, oh my God, look at this play by Mahomes. Bro, he's terrible. Watch the game. Look at this shit. Look at the production. I don't care. I don't care what it looks like. Look at this. I'm looking at the Chiefs stats right now. This is the absolute most gross football team on offense right now. I can't even watch them play offense. They're so bad. Chiefs, I'm going to look at this. This is the Chiefs' points, okay? 22 points. 7 was from a pick six versus the Broncos. 19 versus the Cowboys. Bro, Mahomes versus the Cowboys, 23 for 37, 260, and an interception. That's terrible. The Broncos game. Mahomes, 15 for 29, 184, and an interception. Terrible. They had one good game versus the Raiders because they play the same defense on every snap. They played Jordan Love and they won 13-7. Mahomes, 20 for 37, 166 yards and a touchdown. Terrible. Didn't even have 200 yards. They played the Giants at home on Monday night. Mahomes, 29 for 48, 275, a touchdown and an interception. Terrible. They won by 3. They played the Titans. They lost 27-3. 27-3. Can we get our heads out of our asses? Collinsworth, get your head out of your ass. The offense sucks. The defense is literally, Chris Jones is carrying the team. Terrible. Look at this. Hold on a second. Who do the Chiefs play this week? Who do they play? The Raiders. Okay. The Chiefs are 12th in points. Who thinks 12th in points is good? I'm not convinced. And by the way, Broncos, give Javonte Williams the damn ball. Why do you even play Melvin Gordon at this point? The guy got drafted when the dinosaurs were walking Earth. Next. We got the Bengals. The Bengals and the Chargers. So I streamed this game. And there's a few things I want to talk about here, just quick. I was impressed by the Chargers in a couple areas that I felt were new for the team. I thought they did a good job stopping the run, which is probably the first time I've said that about the Chargers all season. But I do think it was partly to do with the Bengals being hurt on the offensive line. But I want to give them credit for that. They did a better job stopping the run, which early on helped them gain the lead and the advantage to win this game. Secondly, I thought the Chargers were way more aggressive. Specifically, Justin Herbert was way more aggressive in throwing the ball down the field and giving his wide receivers a chance to make a play. Like Mike Williams, making a couple jump ball wins and winning those jump ball battles. So I was encouraged about how the Chargers played. But I will also say this. I was not discouraged by the Bengals. I felt like it was pretty unfortunate the way the Bengals lost that game. There was one play in the game early that changed the course of the game. That was a pass from Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase that should have been a touchdown. Jamar Chase basically hands the ball to the cornerback on an interception. It was going the other direction for a touchdown and ends up taking away that 6 for an interception. That play changed the game. Joe Burrow's stupid interception in the red zone changed the game. And the Joe Mixon fumble for a touchdown changed the game. The Bengals almost came back in this game. At one point, it was, I think, 24-6. It ended up being 24-22. And then Joe Mixon fumbles the ball for a touchdown. That seals the game practically. So I was encouraged by the Chargers, but I wasn't discouraged by the Bengals. I still feel like I like the Bengals. I just think they're just a little bit too immature. In the playoffs, that's going to hurt them. I do think they'll make the playoffs still. I hope both of these teams make the playoffs, quite frankly, because they're both pretty exciting. So those were my thoughts on the game. Don't overreact to the Bengals losing, but don't underreact to the Chargers winning. Before we get to the playoff conversation, I want to talk about the LA Rams. So the Rams had a game versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know you probably didn't see it because you forgot that that game existed. Perfectly fine with me. So the Rams had a kind of a get-right game here. And what I mean by that is they ran the ball a lot in this game with Sony Michel as the lead back. And Sony Michel actually provided this team with more of the blueprint that I want to see from this team moving forward. I've been preaching. I've been yelling. I've been screaming. Rams, you've got to run the football. That is what you've been. That is what you've always been at your best. It's about running. It's about play action. And it's about protecting your offensive line. It's about possessing the football. And this is why it's so important for the Rams and the way the Rams are made, okay? The Rams are a play from in front football team. If the Rams trail, they are in trouble because the Rams' offensive line and drop back pass can be exposed. Because when you are trailing, the other team possesses the ball, the depth of your defense can be exposed because your defense gets tired. The run defense of the Rams is not very good. Can be exposed. The Rams are a finesse team based on speed on defense. But when they're ahead, that becomes a strength because they can attack you. They can blitz you. They can rush the passer. And they can play a game where they can play light in the box and play the pass. And offensively, they can stay balanced. They can keep play action. They can run. They can pass. Okay? This is the case for a lot of teams. But specifically the Rams, who are a team that I think have a chance, if they could put all the pieces together at the right moment, I will not close the door on them winning the NFC. But these things all have to come together at the same time, which makes it more challenging for them to do so. But I think this game, even though it was versus Jacksonville, showed a blueprint for how the Rams need to play for the rest of the season. All right, so that's my quick Rams thoughts. Let's get to the final segments of the show, discussing the playoff update. This is the NFL playoff update where I go over the playoffs in both conferences and talk about it. Let's start off with the NFC wildcard race. So, the NFC wildcard race, the 6, 7, and the 6 and 7 seed are specifically the ones up in the air. Feels like the Rams are going to make it as the 5 seed, and we know the other 4 teams that are going to make it. The Bucs, the Cardinals, the Packers, the Cowboys. Those teams are in, the Rams are in. Okay, so we got 2 spots. I believe the 49ers will take one of those spots. I was discouraged by the performance by Jimmy Garoppolo, specifically versus Seattle. But nonetheless, that's a divisional opponent. Tough game in Seattle. I understand the loss. Makes sense to me. But it doesn't appear that the Niners I just think they're too inconsistent in the playoffs. But I think they'll make it nonetheless. At number 7, though, who's going to be that 7 seed? And it really does feel like it's going to be the Eagles or the Washington football team. It's going to be one of those 2 teams. The Falcons are done. The Panthers stink. The Saints are done. I mean, I don't think the Vikings, I don't even want to speak their name anymore. They lost to the Lions. Jared Goff. So, I'm hoping it's Washington or the Eagles. Now, I think it's fairly hard to think, but Washington, I think has a more favorable schedule. They still play Dallas twice, by the way, Washington. They still play Dallas twice. The division isn't completely locked up for Washington and Dallas yet. The Eagles pretty much only can make it through the wild card because they've already lost to Dallas. I like how the Washington football team is playing. I think they're sneaky. I do. The Eagles, though, I like the way that they run the ball. I like that they've got two quarterbacks that can win for you. I like how their defensive front plays. So it's tough. I don't know. Let me know in the comments who you guys think. The Eagles or Washington. I think it might be one of those two teams. And lastly, you know what? I'm going to leave that for a separate video. I think that's deserving of a separate video entirely. I was going to give you 5 teams who can actually win the Super Bowl, but I'm going to say that. I'm going to tease you with it, okay? I'll tease you with it. The 5 Super Bowl teams. I'm going to make that video this week, all right? So I'm going to make a video about the 5 teams that I think can win the Super Bowl. There are 5, okay? 5 teams that in my mind can win the Super Bowl this year. If everything goes right, those teams can win the Super Bowl. Okay? So there you have it. It is Mitch. That is your NFL review for Week 13. Hope you guys enjoyed. I know there was a heck of a ton of rants in this one. So hopefully you enjoyed it, and hopefully you enjoyed the profanity. I'm going to be recording my NFL Power Rankings tonight and posting that likely tonight, possibly tomorrow morning, but nonetheless, it will be out by tomorrow morning. I'm definitely going to be checking out the next episode of the Tom Brady series on ESPN Plus about the 2007 Patriots, which should probably be very upsetting. So I'm going to watch that tonight as well. I might even do a review on that series at the end of the day because I've really enjoyed the series so far. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. It's Mitch. We will talk to you soon. Deuces.